Thank you so much for that. First of all, Laura, for that introduction and for her work. Depending on, you may come from a community, since every city has a different system, where there's such a thing as a city manager. We don't have that in South Bend. They call it a strong mayor system. And that means the role of chief of staff to the mayor requires an immense amount of creativity and hard work, dealing with everything that you can imagine. Not just the stuff you see on Parks and Rec when you think about local government in Indiana, but dealing with economic challenges, dealing with emergencies, dealing with violence. There is no playbook for how to do that. We have figured it out together. And for a chief of staff to a mayor who is the unsung hero of so many cities, there's no instruction manual on what to do. You add to that there is definitely not an instruction manual on what to do when you're a chief of staff in a Midwestern city and your mayor gets it into his head that he wants to run for president of the United States. Interns like Anna to department heads across the city, to my fellow elected officials, I see at least one council member here, to Laura O'Sullivan and the phenomenal team that she leads. We owe them an enormous debt of gratitude for the work that they do for us. The story of our city that has propelled the spirit of this campaign, even as we speak to communities that are so different from each other. It's the idea that so much depends on our ability to pick up pieces when things are broken and wrong and build them into something new and better than we'd ever imagined. And that's what I'm running to do for the United States of America. May I ask you to picture in as much detail as possible what it's going to be like when the sun comes up, the first time it happens, the sun comes up, and Donald Trump is no longer the president of the United States. Part of why I'm offering that up is to remind you that that will in fact happen one way or the other. But the other reason I'm bringing it up is that it actually won't be so easy. If you really think about how it's going to feel that day, it'll be a challenging time in the life of this country. Our nation will be even more divided, even more torn up over politics than it is right now. Just with everything that we've been through, everything we're about to go through. That's going to require a president who can bring together a deeply polarized American people. And at the same time, something else will be true, which is the work that needs to be done to solve these problems that didn't go away, didn't take a vacation during the impeachment process or anything else that's been going on. An economy that isn't working for nearly enough of us, a climate that is approaching the point of no return. Which means the next president is going to have to be ready to guide the American people, picking up those pieces, getting big things done, and figuring out a way to do it that will unify, not polarize, the American people. That is the task of the next president, and that is And while that sounds like a tall order, we already know what it's going to take to do it. What it's going to take is to come together around the values that unite us as Americans, as long as we understand those values in the right way. Think about a value like love of country and patriotism. Not the cheap nationalism of hugging the flag, literally. I mean a patriotism that remembers that our country is made of people. You can't love a country if you hate half the people in it. A love of a country that seeks to protect it abroad. That means not only protecting our assets, but protecting our honor. Seeing to it that no one would ever have reason to question the word, the credibility of the United States of America. It also means here at home, seeing to it that we protect each other right here at home. That means never allowing the Second Amendment to be confused for an excuse to do nothing at all when it comes to keeping our schools and neighborhoods safe. Making sure that That's why we got to rise to meet the challenge of climate change before it masters us in our time. That is a matter of security. And here in the periphery of Our Lady's University, we're talking a little bit about some other values like faith. And what faith might mean if we look to it for its power to unite, not divide. Now, this will always be a country that stands for people of every religion and of no religion equally, because that's a core idea of our Constitution. But I also think many people of faith look forward to a White House that you could look at and not have to scratch your head and say, whatever happened, I was hungry and you fed me. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Values like democracy, that we care that this country, not just as a system, but as a value, lives up to its democratic creed. It means moving on from districts being drawn to where politicians pick out their voters instead of the other way around, and doing something about the role of money in politics, and the role that the vote is being. That is a matter of value. And so it is with freedom, too. Understanding what freedom really requires of us. Not just the freedom of cutting regulations and taxes. I'm not that concerned to preserve Amazon's freedom to not pay any income taxes at all. That'll be okay. I mean our freedom to live a life of our choosing. Sometimes that means getting government out of the way. I believe it means whatever our individual views are, it means getting government out of the business of dictating women's health decisions to them. But sometimes it means government's got to step up. That's why we step up for things like education and local government. We've got to be met with a national government that puts in a Secretary of Education who believes in public education. It means making sure everybody has health care because you're not free if you don't have it. But the idea of Medicare for all who want it is we let everybody who wants to get on Medicare have a chance, but I'm not going to tell you whether you want it. I trust you to figure that out because I know it's freedom. So you see, there's a way to meet the biggest challenges in front of us and come out more unified than we were before. It's not that everybody's going to agree, but it's that we recognize the urgency of dealing with these issues. We have got to tackle challenges as big as we've ever faced as a country. We've got to tackle systemic racism before it puts an end to the American We've got to tackle the division in this country with experiences that can bring us together. That's why there is value in, for example, creating a million paid national service opportunities a year for anybody who wants to be able to serve their country in a civilian capacity. And it's why we got to address the crisis of belonging that exists in this country. This is a big deal, and it's hard to describe, it's hard to define, and it's hard to measure, but I think we all feel it. People being told for a million different reasons, maybe because of race or disability or just where you are in the economy or what language you speak at home, whatever it is, that you don't belong. We can do something about it. Matter of fact, I believe we must do something about it. Some of it's just for the president, some of it's what you don't do. But that's why I can also offer you the public health benefit of a president you can see on the news and feel your blood pressure go down a little bit. But it's going to take more than that. It's going to take a president who can cultivate a spirit of hope in the American people. And I know that hope went out of style in politics because of what we're dealing with right now in Washington, because of how bleak it is. But my hope, as Laura explained, is forged in the story of this city. Looking around at the city written off as dying and seeing it find a different future for itself. That's the kind of hope that lets me know that we can come together. It's the hope that I got in the dust of a war zone, watching people who I had nothing in common with besides a flag on our shoulder. And I have to note with some pride that one of my soldiers is here who has become an officer since I was first. put you on the spot, but somebody I never would have guessed appearing at a rally associated with a Democratic candidate. So, this is important too. Okay, again, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I think what's really important to me right now is that we call out to everybody. We got to call out to progressives, we got to call out to moderates, we got to call out to Republicans, or as I like to call them, future former Republicans. We just feel like things have to change, not because we're going to agree on everything, we're never going to agree on everything, but because we see that there's a better way than where we are right now. And we know that if we get this right, we really will be proud of what we did in 2020. That's the hope that I feel, that I'm counting on you to spread. And it's a sense of responsibility about what the presidency means. That the purpose of the presidency is not to glorify the president, but to unify and empower the American people.